story is going to be. And that, during the course of that, the period of the filming, for both of us in different ways, that unleashes a huge degree of insecurity, which is probably quite useful to us both, because we have absolutely no idea where we're going some of the time.
It's maybe not as anarchic as it seems. It may be more that if everything was really structured, then I get the fear that it becomes bred, you know, it's like predictable in the wrong way.
We contributed very much to the way that we thought the story would go, you know. You suggest things and even write little bits yourself, and Daniel was the same. I mean, everybody was the same. It's not, you know, Jim would stop in the middle of a scene and say, OK, we're going to have a workshop now. He's a real actor's director, which is fantastic. It really, you know, it's so alive, the process it's really exciting.
With all the fears that people privately carry within themselves, they sometimes are less than honest with each other in working situations. And I think that prevents the best work from being done. And I think Shay and I, whatever else happens, even if sometimes it's tough and sometimes it is tough, we speak our minds to each other.
I make it difficult for Daniel sometimes because I'm so spontaneous and kind of demanding that he's almost like a screenwriter, you know, in his approach. And I think that's hard for him. But, you know, it's almost like I think the only thing I say to Daniel is communicate rather than do art. Today is our last day on boxing, so what do we do to achieve what we need to achieve? It's very hard for me to keep control. Well, 90% of directors are terrified. They play the game that they're in charge, and they make false, I think, my own experience, you make false moves, and you do false things and say, sure, it's okay, isn't it grand? Here's my instinct. Can you give us a break for a second? And I think it's just the elimination of that, that instinct, that makes it great. Now, as you have 10 people to please, and not just yourself, it becomes very difficult.
Right.
You know. So a lot of the time, when you're there, you have such an overwhelming personality, such a strong, forceful personality that I'm like, feel something like I'm surfboarding a lot of the time, do you know what I mean? That I'm up on a high wave and I could crash any time.
A film set is a chaotic place.
Okay, cut.
In order to be able to achieve enough of a peaceful climate within which you can unleash your own chaos, you have to have some kind of order. Because chaos and chaos together just make a mess.
Okay, right, go ahead, Dan. And kind of coming into the relationship with me and Daniel is like coming into a marriage, you know, it's like, but an intense marriage. If it lasted more than the shooting period, might end up with everybody going berserk, you know? It's the face is the most important thing, not the front. See, this is good, look. That's good. The pusher of is good. That's good, that's all good. I think somewhere deep down that I think my job is to just make sure that nobody dies, do you know what I mean?
The script's been kind of worked on and worked on and worked on, and I think, you know, it's moved away from the kind of political, dramatic, kind of violent side of the story, and it's moved more towards the love story.
I can give you up in my head, but my body's crying out for you.
The original first draft of this story I did he couldn't go with they couldn't get together because they were Catholic and Protestant, which is probably true, it's difficult, but it's such a cliche that you can't dramatise it.
It's so easy to focus on politics and religion when you're dealing with any story relating to Ireland, and particularly the north of Ireland. Then immediately your sort of vision you become kind of myopic almost. But in fact, life goes on and stories go on, completely independent of that. In a way, that's what Maggie and Dana's story is.
I would have waited.
Don't be saying that. 14 years, Maggie.
I would have waited.
There's something almost kind of mundane about their friendship in any other circumstances, but it becomes absolutely extraordinary in this kind of cage that they're living in.
think we get to London and we have a pretty hard time with him. I mean, he's been inside for planting a bomb in Belfast, and her dad is the head of the IRA in West Belfast, and so I think they're going to get a pretty tough time of the police in London, but maybe one day when peace breaks, they'll be back.
Where are you going?
We're going home.
There's always a possibility that you can regain your life, no matter to what extent it's been ruined through your own actions or the actions of others. You can have it back.
All you had to do was walk across a prison corridor and shake hands with some of your old friends in the IRA. Snubbing people is not nice. But you never named names, and that's why you're a healthy man, understand?
However complex and compromised and politically impossible things seem, if somebody is straight and true, then that will triumph.
They see a situation that's been bad, but that you know, there's a hope at the end of it, and that hope is gained by, you know, normal things. These people live a life in the middle of the trouble. This is a love story, and it's funny that it's very difficult to write a love story in Ireland, and I actually don't know of any successful ones. And it's almost like it's impossible to be an adult enough in a society that doesn't have freedom or that isn't free, so that the characters aren't adult enough to have an adult relationship almost. And that's very hard. And in our love story, like, it's one of those love stories that's very tender, and it's not like the obvious kind of like they jump into bed, and it's very restrained, but yet it's not like restrained in the way that such a great film like Brief Encounter is restrained, which is very English. It's not by social norms that the restraint comes, it's by political norms, and that's the difference. And it's almost like replacing the social etiquette of England with the political etiquette of Ireland makes the love difficult.
I'm not a killer, Maggie. This place makes me want to kill.
I wish we could stay like this forever.
They push past the politics, and their love makes things difficult for the IRA, but when love makes things difficult for people, too bad. Because, you know, if it's all is fair in love and war, love comes first.